TIFU by giving my youngest son advice on happy relationships and causing my oldest son's girlfriend to dump him, by user Samus10011. First, I would like to say this actually happened on my youngest son's birthday, but today is the day my oldest son confronted me, so here is what happened. After the cake and presents, my youngest son and I were chatting. He is a young teenager, and now that my wife and I feel he is old enough, and mature enough, we gave him permission to begin dating. He wanted advice on his future relationships. His mom and I almost never fight, and apparently it was noticeable enough that he asked about it. The conversation began by talking about learning to respect your partner, etc. I can't remember everything I said, but here are some highlights. Always be ready and willing to say you're sorry, even when you think you're right. Never dismiss your girlfriend's feelings. They are valid, even if you don't understand them. Communicate, communicate, communicate. If something is bothering you and you don't tell your significant other, you're only hurting yourself. Listen when she is trying to tell you something, no matter how much you don't want to hear it. Put the game controller down, and mute the TV, whenever she wants your attention. End every conversation with a sign of your affection, and if you won't see her for a few hours, give her a hug, a kiss, or both, every time. Throughout the day, randomly tell her you're thinking about her, you care about her, or you love her. And mean it. If you stop meaning it, figure out why and fix it, or break up. Trust is important, and once you've broken it, you might never fix it again. Many people believe love is the most important thing in a relationship, but it's not. It's respect. If you don't respect your partner, or feel she doesn't respect you, talk about it and fix it, or break up. Otherwise you will both be miserable. There were a bunch of other pieces of advice I gave him, but that's the general gist. It wasn't all seriousness, we joked around a bit too. I told him this little bit of advice my dad told me a long time ago. You will know when your girlfriend is completely comfortable around you when she is willing to fart in front of you. Don't marry her until that happens. Sage advice, that is. Now, me and my youngest were sitting at my desk having this talk while he was picking out the video games he wanted to buy with his birthday money. My daughter and my oldest son's, now ex-girlfriend, were on the couch playing video games and listening to us. My daughter occasionally chimed in with her own comments. She's been dating a few years now, and had her own bits of advice to give, though her comments were more about how to act on dates, places they can go, and stuff like that. My oldest son's girlfriend hardly spoke at all. In hindsight, that should have been a red flag. She's a talkative extrovert and also a very pleasant and generous young woman. Eventually my oldest boy came over and dropped off his gift for his little brother. He and his girlfriend stuck around long enough for him to have some cake, and then they left. At this point I don't know exactly what happened. My daughter managed to get some details from my oldest son's, now, ex-girlfriend. I got some more from my oldest when he came over to yell at me for breaking up his relationship. Long story short, my oldest wasn't being a good boyfriend. His girlfriend confronted him with some issues they've been having. She felt like he didn't respect her opinions and feelings, and she dumped him. It's that simple. I love all my children with every bit of my heart, even when they are mad at me, and I admit I fucked up. I am to blame for his breakup. But not because of what I said in front of his girlfriend. I fucked up because I didn't drill the advice I gave my youngest into my oldest boy's head when he was younger. He wants me to post this on one of the IDA subs, but I am not going to do that. I admit that I could be a better father, and I can be a real a-hole sometimes, but I'm pretty damn sure that even though I could have read the damn room, that wasn't the real problem. Hopefully my oldest son learns from this. TLDR, I gave my youngest son relationship advice when my wife and I decided he was now old enough to date. My oldest son's girlfriend took that advice and confronted my oldest son, apparently because he wasn't respecting her or her feelings. They had a huge argument and broke up. TIFU by reading a label wrong and destroying my health, by user Stop Bad Journalism. This last week I've been trying to get healthier and change my habits since lately I've been putting on weight and not feeling very well, so I figured some changes were in order. I quit alcohol and weed cold turkey, and ever since then I've been craving something relaxing in the evening after a long day, so I went to my local vegan supermarket to try to find something that might help. In the supplement section I found this stuff called Calm, a magnesium supplement that helps you sleep and apparently is relaxing. Sounds good, right? Well, it would be if I wasn't such a fucking idiot. The first night I mixed it up with some water, and it fizzed quite a bit, but it was pretty tasty and went down easy, and was actually quite relaxing. The next morning I woke up and didn't exactly feel the greatest, but figured it was just poor sleep from quitting weed, until I had some breakfast and things started to go downhill fast. Massive diarrhea. Uncontrollable and demonic, just absolutely racked me all day. You might think this is where I started to realize my mistake, but you would be wrong. I figured it was just me being lactose intolerant, and chalked it up to a bad diet. Second day rolls around, same thing, except now I'm nauseous and lethargic, waking up feeling like I'm hungover, and it's hard to think. Lifting my tools at work isn't the easiest either, but again I just chalk it up to poor sleep from quitting weed so suddenly. Day 3 I started mix it together, and decide to read the label a little closer since I notice I'm using it up pretty quickly. The realization hits. You're supposed to start with half a teaspoon and work your way up to 2 teaspoons over time. I had immediately started with 2 tablespoons since I hastily read the label the first night. Looks like I'll be skipping this the next week or so I can flush all this magnesium out of my system. TLDR, thought it said tablespoons instead of teaspoons and ended up consuming 3 grams of magnesium in one weekend. TIFU entire class decided to write letters to a prisoner, by user Funny Blacksmith 8868. This happened a long time ago, when I was 16. Our school participated in the International Baccalaureate program that allowed us to take some intense classes and finish high school with a lot of college credits. Even if you didn't complete the entire program, the courses were great college prep. I decided my junior year of high school that I would take IB French I, which was completely immersive. Our teacher required us to answer everything in French. Want to go to the restroom? Ask in French. Have a question about the homework? Ask in French. She assigned the entire first chapter the first day of class due the next day. Every exercise from beginning to end. It was 20 pages. The class originally had 20 people signed up, however, the assignment left the class with only 5 of us. With students willing to put in the work, our teacher worked hard to give us an all-round education in French. We read French novels, watched French TV, discussed French history and politics. Keep in mind this is the late 90s, so the internet was not readily available. I also lived in Central Appalachia, so just having this program was an amazing opportunity, but our resources were limited. She went above and beyond to give us work that was both hard and interesting. I remember reading Asterix and Obelix comic books in French, and I once had a scavenger hunt around my school in total French directions. Needless to say, my teacher was always trying a variety of ways to keep up working on our French skills. One day, she has us reading a French magazine for translation, I believe was Le Monde, and in the middle of class, she tells us she has a great idea. While we were working, she was looking into the classified section of the paper, just curious to see what is sold, who is interested in what topic, etc. There, among all the want ads, was an advertisement about a Frenchman in a maximum security prison in Colorado, looking for someone to write in French. His name was Maxim, and it gave us an address to write to. Wouldn't that be a great way to sharpen our French skills and writing skills? Here is where the 5 of us screwed up first. We all immediately got out our papers and began writing to this Maxim, no questions asked. Now, it wasn't complete stupidity on our part, we didn't give our full names or address, but mailed from our school, which, admittedly, isn't much of a cover for any of us since we are a very rural area and would be easy to find us. But we write our letters, which I know dates my age. If you ever wrote letters to a complete stranger, the first letter is usually introducing yourself to the receiver, telling about yourself, your life, your family, which, of course, we did. Do you know what we didn't do? We didn't think that a guy in prison with the ability to place an ad in Le Monde could be that serious of a criminal. And at first, he wasn't. The first letter he wrote back that our teacher was an angel and our letters were a bright spot in an otherwise dark existence. He wrote about how lonely it had been without an opportunity to interact with his native language. He eagerly looked forward to our correspondence. So our little penpal situation continued, until Maxim decided that we needed to hear his tragic tale of woe. Keep in mind, we were high school students so our translation skills were not professional, but what I remember from the letter, it went like this: Maxim was just a simple man. He arrived in America to gain the American dream. He began by running a business in exporting leather goods, but found that he needed connections to get his inventory into the country. Enter a partner, who assured him he can get his cargo into America without too much delay with customs. Of course, he had no idea that this partner was running drugs. How could he? It wasn't until his business got raided that he discovered all the money he had been getting from the partner just happened to be laundered in his export business. At least, that's what the FBI explained when he was arrested. So now, our French class was in a dilemma. We had been writing this guy, and honestly, we hadn't given any thought as to why he was in Colorado. Still, we certainly hadn't thought we would stumble onto a mob money launderer who thought we were angels and told us he would eventually get out in a few years. None of us really wanted to continue this. Luckily, school was finishing and we all agreed that it would be best if we all conveniently forgot about all this. We also never told anyone. Not out of some solidarity, but it didn't cross our minds that this was something our parents needed to know. Besides, our teacher knew. Who else needed to? Our senior year starts, and our IB French teacher comes in and asks which one of us told Maxim about her birthday. Blank stares all around. We didn't know her birthday. She tells us she got a birthday card from Maxim at her home address. We also didn't know that either, because while our tiny Appalachian town didn't have extensive internet, apparently his prison did. Or at least, that was the only logical conclusion we could come up with. So, complete no contact with Maxim, and the rest of the year, we all dreaded the idea that he had the ability to find where we lived. I now teach at this same school with the French teacher, and we both marvel at the fact that she gave us the assignment of writing an unknown prisoner with no concern to our safety, and that we, as students, willingly participate with these letters without telling anyone. So I learned, just because the teacher says to do, you might want to think about the unintended consequences of that assignment. TLDR, French teacher assigns writing a random prisoner for French class, and we do it without complaint. Learn he's a serious money launderer and sends a birthday card to our teacher, even though she didn't tell him that info and neither did we. TIFU by falling asleep on my best friend, by user DenseShake4028. Obligatory. This was last week. My 25M best friend, 27M, who I'll name John, have been best friends since teenagers. We met over Xbox Live and became close friends after realizing that we only lived around an hour away from each other and would hang out in person often. When I turned 23 I started renting an apartment close to my work and John moved in to help cover rent. That's been the situation since and it was great. I can confidently say he's my best friend. In our time living together we've never had any of the typical roommate issues I see people complain about. But then last week we were watching a movie and both pretty exhausted because of work. Halfway through the movie I fell asleep and woke up holding onto him. Head on his chest, arm around his midsection. He didn't move me because I looked too comfortable. And honestly I was. So comfortable in fact that I didn't really get off him. I moved my arm but kept my head on his chest. I should have just sat up and I don't know why I didn't, but he didn't seem to mind and ended up putting his arm around me. After the movie I went to bed and couldn't get to sleep. All I could think of is how good it felt to be that close to him. So that's my life now I think. It's been a week and he hasn't said anything about it but it's literally all I can think about. I like the way he felt and he smells really good too, which I guess I never noticed. Am I gay now or did I just like feeling safe? Who knows? Either way I'm being weird around him now. Can't really look at him, I don't sit next to him on the couch and if we have touched, bumping into each other or handing something to him, I feel like I go into a panic and end up finding an excuse to leave the room. I just wanted things to go back to normal but now I'm convinced they never will. TLDR. Cuddled my best friend one single time and now I can't be normal around him. Update, a few people asked so here we go. Apologies for how long it is. Firstly thank you for all the comments, they were all either helpful or made me laugh, so thanks. So I didn't super know what to say to him when he got home and ended up apologizing for being weird the last week. I basically told him that I knew I was acting off and didn't want him to think anything was wrong or weird between us, but the cuddling that happened was new and gave me mixed feelings. None of them bad, it was just confusing. He let me get it all out, and at one point I mentioned everyone was saying how normal platonic cuddling is and I agree and he asked who I meant by everyone. So then I told him I made a Reddit post about it and he asked if he could read it to better understand how I've been feeling. Once he read the post I asked him how he felt about everything and he said that he had been worried he'd done something wrong when I was acting distant around him, but he personally didn't feel weird about holding me. It wasn't a big deal to him to cuddle up with friends but he knows I'm pretty awkward and a little neurotic so he didn't want to bring it up and make me feel worse. We talked so much I actually don't remember a lot of it but some ways into the conversation he asked about the "am I gay" comment, which I admit was badly worded. John is pansexual, He has been since I met him, so he's pretty open about it. It's never really been something I even considered until a week ago, but oh boy have I done some considering in the last week. I said it felt a little like a crush, but I wasn't sure if I was just needing affection, or two, this was just a fleeting thing. He said that was fine, and nothing had to change if I didn't want it to, which was ultimately a huge relief. He also said if I still feel like I have a crush later we can take things one step at a time, but he'd be open to exploring that further if I was. I feel like the way I felt after he said that sort of gave me my answer to if it's crush or not, but I agree with him that we shouldn't jump to conclusions and take it slow. After the big long talk we watched TV, yes. Cuddling, and I feel a lot less confused about it this time. I don't think there'll be a need for another update, but thanks again so much for all the comments and really helpful advice. You all gave me the confidence to talk to him about this, and it ended up going way better than expected. TLDR2, everyone who said I might be a little gay wasn't entirely wrong. TIFU by leaving edibles out for the in-laws and now they think they're in the Matrix, by user Chrismen. TIFU by leaving edibles out for the in-laws and now they think they're in the Matrix. So this happened last night and my marriage may never recover. Loudly crying face. My wife's parents are visiting and these people are aggressively wholesome. They think weed is a gateway to Satan's basement. I on the other hand enjoy a strong high. My boy made these things are strong. I thought I put them away in my office. But nope, I left them on the kitchen counter in a jar looking like granola bars. My in-laws decided to help clean up while I was out picking up food. We get back and her dad is devouring a bar while her mom is munching on another, saying these are earthy. I went into full panic mode. My wife has no clue, so she casually mentions, oh, those must be the ones I made. Her dad's like, wow, you made these, they're amazing, and finishes it. At this point I'm running calculations in my head. These edibles take about 45 minutes to hit and they've just consumed enough THC to knock out a moose. Fast forward 30 minutes, her dad is in the backyard staring at a tree like it's whispering secrets. Her mom is crying because she forgot how spoons work. My wife is losing it trying to figure out what happened and I'm just thinking of my escape plan. Then her dad looks at me and says, I think I'm in a video game. Her mom starts laughing uncontrollably for no reason, then cries again. My wife starts yelling, which only freaks them out more. Her dad whispers, you need to unplug me, son, while her mom points at the TV screaming, why is everyone frozen? We spent the rest of the night watching them have a meltdown of every emotion possible. Her dad had an existential crisis about whether he was real and her mom eventually fell asleep hugging a loaf of bread. The in-laws are still alive somehow, but my wife hasn't spoken to me in 14 hours. Pray for me. TLDR left potent edibles out for in-laws. They ate them. Now they think they're in the Matrix and my marriage might not survive. Update, the in-laws are fine, but my father-in-law says he understands the universe now. My mother-in-law keeps staring at the microwave like it's about to tell her a secret. Wife told me to sleep on the couch until further notice. Pray for me / now I'm not out here writing the Declaration of Independence. I'm simply sharing a chaotic story. I hit Reddit quick, wrote it in a rush. If you struggled to read it, congratulations, you now know what it felt like to live it. Consider it an immersive experience. Good day.